Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Happy Election Day to you. Can you believe 4 years? We are finally here. I've been waiting for this day literally for 4 years. It's the first time of my adult life. I prayed for years to go by faster. And then what a year we've had. 2 assassination attempts. You've got 2 different candidates for the Democrats. All of the craziness surrounding the court cases. President Trump literally taking bullets for us. And we are here. It is on us now to get out and vote. Today, I want to talk, one, about this pollster I interviewed from Rasmussen Reports. We're going to get to his interview. I'm going to play it for you. He literally dumps on his own data, saying that the small lead that he has President Trump in is probably not correct, meaning he believes it's actually a bigger lead. He thinks even his own poll is too far weighted to the left in many of these swing states. He says the swing states don't match the national polls, and he thinks the national polls are right. We've had a 6-point swing from where Republicans were last time around in 2020 to where we are now nationally. He thinks as far as the battleground states go, it will mimic more the national polls. This is huge for us. So this is a stunning admission from the head pollster at Rasmussen Reports. I'm going to let you hear it from him. He was on my Real America's Voice show. We will talk about that. Then, of course, we've got Joe Rogan coming out and endorsing President Trump. What great news is this? Rogan now says the only choice is President Trump, and Elon Musk helped him come to that decision. We'll talk about that. I've got an interview with Doug Mastriano, one of the premier fighters for election integrity in Pennsylvania. And guess what? This guy, who has been so pessimistic about where we are as far as election integrity goes, where we are as far as our chances, he now says over the last 2 weeks, he's feeling better and better about where things are in Pennsylvania. You'll hear from Doug Mastriano today, the state senator from Pennsylvania. And then, of course, my last tip that I think we are in a good spot is that the lies are being ramped up by those on the left. And I mean vicious, ferocious lies based in no fact, leveled against President Trump by the Harris campaign, by the media. I think all of this is a sign of desperation. So we will get into all of this today, including our guest, Dr. Kelly Victory, who is with me to talk about some of the good things as well. No pandemic here, right? We had one 4 years ago that really put it in their favor. We don't this time around. Speaking of that, I want to give a big shout out to the organization that sponsors this podcast today, the Wellness Company. Do you have one of these? In times of chaos, you want your prescription medication kit. The Wellness Company is the only company that I know of that will provide you some of the most common, most needed, that are a necessity to have at every household, prescription medications, including Ivermectin in this kit. Simply go to twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Put this in your house. I'd rather you have it and not need it than need it and not have it. This could save a life. It really could. You got ammunition, water, food, all of the supplies. But do you have prescription medications? This should be part of your emergency preparedness plan. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. All right. With that, I want to get to our show. Bring in Dr. Kelly Victory, who is also with the Wellness Company. Dr. Victory, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me, Grant, and happy Election Day. I do hope it's a happy Election Day overall.
Well, how are you feeling? I have tremendous anxiety, but I couch it like this. I feel good. I felt a little worse yesterday for some reason. I don't know why. And then I woke up feeling a little bit better today, but I still have tremendous anxiety over this. What do you think?
Well, I have broken Kelly Victory's rule number 1 of election prognostication in that I have allowed myself to feel cautiously optimistic. I think the numbers are very clear, Grant, and I happen to agree with your pollster, by the way. I think the polls are way off because despite the fact that the Democrats have tried to convince women in their most recent ads that they can go into the privacy of the poll booth and vote for Kamala Harris and then lie to their overbearing husbands, about who they actually pulled the lever for. I think the reality is people are more likely to lie in the other direction. I think many people are going to, in secret, vote for Donald Trump because they know the reality, which is that their lives were much better for his administration. My concern, like yours, I'm sure, the anxiety comes from not who people are actually going to vote for, but the shenanigans and the fraud and the corruption and the stealing of votes that we know is taking place. I do worry about the number of dead people and illegals who are voting in this election, and I think that's really, where that's the unknown.
Look, my buddy Ben Berquam, you talk about that. He filed this for Real America's Voice. I'm just going to play a clip of it. This is really gets into the shenanigans being played even from the deep state, where he says U.S. Customs and Border Protection sends out a memo in Arizona and Pennsylvania to not show up to the polls to vote in your uniform for Border Patrol agents because, he believes, the agents believe, they don't want to scare illegals away from voting. Listen to this, Dr. Victory.
Major breaking, concerning news. I just got contacted by ICE officers. I'm down here in Phoenix, Arizona. Just got word that in Arizona and in Pennsylvania, at least those two states, they've got word from their higher-ups that when they go to vote tomorrow, they are not allowed to wear their uniforms or their badges when they go in to vote. And they believe it's because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden don't want to intimidate illegal aliens voting. An official memo went out to ICE officers across America, at least in Arizona and in Pennsylvania, telling them not to wear their uniforms or badges when they go to vote.
So, Dr. Victory, that's Ben Berquam. He has tremendous ties inside Border Patrol. If he says this is happening, I promise you can take it to the bank. He's a really good guy and a solid reporter when it comes to this. This, again, is the government trying to put its hands on the scales of the outcome of an election. The good thing we have is we don't have a pandemic this time around. You and I both thought they may try that. Right. We saw the bird flu, all this stuff. If they tried, and I think maybe the American public was a little too smart for it, but this helps us, doesn't it?
No question. And I actually was very surprised, Grant, that they didn't roll out another pandemic just in time because it was so politically expedient for them. The last go around, it kept people home from the polls, it pushed the mail-in balloting, and it allowed them to conduct more fraud and stealing of votes than they otherwise would have. That said, we didn't have it this time around, and I'm happy about that. Their desperation is showing, however, as you pointed out, in the egregious lies that they are telling. It's not just things about Donald Trump. It's things like, if Trump gets elected, women won't be able to get an abortion and they'll die of ectopic pregnancies and septic pregnancies because, they'll just be allowed to die in the streets, for lack of medical care. I mean, these things are so absurd as to be, it's really criminal.
I heard even worse than that. My co-host on the radio, Jen Horn, she's a fabulous lady. Her mom, like my mom, are both liberals. Her mom told her that if President Trump becomes president, women will not be allowed to have credit cards. I said, where do you come up with this stuff?
Yeah, they watched one too many episodes of The Handmaid's Tale and are trying to make it into the reality of what's going on, when in fact it's quite the opposite. The reality on the abortion issue, Grant, is that since the reversal of Roe v. Wade, which did nothing more, by the way, but follow the Constitution by handing that authority back to the individual states, since that was overturned, there have been more abortions nationally than ever before by an order of magnitude. So this isn't, robbing women of their ability to get any type of medical treatment. Furthermore, I find it objectionable that women have been reduced to this single issue. In 2024, if you can't figure out how to keep from getting pregnant, God help you. There certainly are, many, many options, including the fact that birth control was deemed, free. It's being given free to all women as part of Obamacare.
Yeah. It's amazing. You're not going to get that statistic from anybody on the mainstream media. And then this does get back to the lies. So, over the weekend, I had to do an emergency podcast talking about this idea that Liz Cheney would be executed and President Trump wanted to train guns on her, when in the end, President Trump was literally said, we should send her into battle with a gun and see what it's like to have guns pointed at you. It's easy to sit in Washington and send our boys into war. And they're literally talking about execution. Well, Joe Rogan, and I'm happy to say Joe Rogan comes out and endorses President Trump in a big way. He said Elon Musk basically convinced him of this endorsement. Well, Elon Musk and Joe Rogan talked about the lies that are unfolding. Now, I want to say I do believe that the amount of lies, the ferocity of these lies as well, is a sign that this campaign, the Harris campaign, is getting desperate. But this is Elon and Joe, and then we can go through some of the lies that have been waged against the wellness company, you, Dr. Victory, me, you name it. This is what they do when they get behind, and when the truth isn't in their favor, they start lying. Take a listen.
Deliberately pushing hoaxes that have been debunked thoroughly.
Yeah. Well, not
we're
just
like even Snopes, which is a liberal thing, says it's bogus.
Yeah.
Like the Fine People hoax.
Obama just said that on stage.
Obama just said that. I was like, what the flying fuck?
He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. They're
That's
just
a flat
going
out
for
goddamn
it.
fucking lie.
Flat out lie.
Flat out fucking
How
lie.
about the other one where Kamala's campaign used what Trump was saying about protecting women and from illegal immigrants?
Thank you.
You remember that? What he was saying is, if the women like it or not, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
When he was saying that, they were trying to say that he was taking away women's right to choose, whether women like it or not. Like, that's not what he was saying.
Absolutely.
He was literally talking about protecting them from dangerous people that are sneaking in through the border.
Yes, exactly. They'll take like not even a full sentence, like a half a sentence from Trump, and then they'll push it on every ad, every speaking event, every
and it gets
media.
repeated on the news.
Yes.
This is what's crazy. They'll talk about it on these news shows, news shows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a recent one that came up, which had a lot of people, because a lot of people reached out to me, was like, they're like, oh, Trump says he wants to execute Liz Cheney. I'm like, that is utter bullshit.
It's not what he said at all.
It's not what he said at all. He all he said was like, what he's saying is that, look, if Liz Cheney actually had to fight at the front lines, she'd think twice about going to war.
Exactly.
That, like, it's easy to go to war. It's easy to be a warmonger if you don't have to, risk dying at the front lines. Like, basically, it's fucked up if people are having like fancy dinners in Washington D.C. While people are being slaughtered in trenches. It's like you're not feeling the pain.
Exactly.
You're not taking the risk. It's someone else dying.
Exactly.
That's cruel and lacking in empathy. And all Trump was saying was that it's like Liz Cheney would be much less of a warmonger, because she's a huge warmonger, just like her dad, if she actually had to go to the front lines and fight herself.
And meanwhile, they're saying that he's saying she should be shot.
Yes, which is a total lie.
So that's basically what we talked about. And what is so interesting in all this, I don't know if you heard the ladies on The View, you had Whoopi Goldberg say Liz Cheney should be the attorney general. Now, these liberals hated the Cheneys. They couldn't stand the Cheney family. Now, all of a sudden, she should be attorney general, had a moral code that was above everybody else's. To me, it's all sickening, but this is desperation. And it's great to see people like Rogan and Elon Musk get together, because 4 years ago, I'm not sure these guys were right there with us.
Whoopi Goldberg, by the way, I will remind you, also said that she thought that Dr. Jill Biden should be Surgeon General. Jill Biden, who has a PhD in education. So consider the source. But I think, Grant, the thing that is really blown up in the Democrats' face this go around is that the entire Harris-Walz campaign has been predicated on negativity about Donald Trump and the Republicans. They don't quote a single policy position. They don't say, vote for us because we're going to do blank. And when she does make an occasional reference to the, opportunity economy, whatever the heck that is, she doesn't back it up with anything like, here's an example of what I mean by an opportunity economy. She'll say, we're going to make housing affordable. Really? How? Give me an example. Tell me a policy position that is going to allow you to make housing more affordable. But instead, they can't because they don't have a policy position.
Yeah.
So all they resort to is the negativity about how awful, Trump is, how awful the conservatives are, how awful Republicans are, using words like fascism and Nazi. Your average Democrat could not define the term fascism or fascist if their lives depended on it.
No, I promise you they couldn't. In fact, comment in the Rumble chat, it's the 65-plus single white woman that votes for Harris. My MIL, I don't know what that is. Her sister, my
mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law. There you go. I'm not up on the lingo here on this stuff. My mother-in-law are all the description above. They are the Harris voters, and they watch CNN 24/7. And we know now that CNN consistently lies to them about all these things. And for everybody here, we're going to get to this pollster who literally dumps on his own poll from Rasmussen, readily admits, I think he says, I think I got our polls wrong. Trump is not up just a little bit. He's up a lot. We're going to get to that interview in just a moment. Dr. Victory, let me play one more clip for you. This is basically Joe Rogan endorsing President Trump with Elon Musk, who he says convinced him of this. Now, the official endorsement came out in a tweet, but this sure sounds like one. Listen.
Well, I'll say it again, man. I think this was the last election. If Trump doesn't win, this is the last election.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think people, and a lot of people are waking up and realize that have been lifelong Democrats. Guys like Bill Ackman, guys like Chamath.
Yeah, exactly.
Tulsi Gabbard switched over to the Republicans. Like, there's a lot of people who their whole life they've been left-wing, and they realize, like, I can't do this anymore.
You and I used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's nuts, man. And if the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final. This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried
and
to
I
push
just want to go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance, man.
So this is where Joe Rogan makes me laugh in many respects, because you can still see he's somewhat of a newbie to all of this. Do you hear what his question was? Does anyone try to push back? It's like, what the heck do you think I'm doing here? What do you think you're doing, Dr. Victory? What do you think the wellness company's doing? All we do is try to push back. Everybody's trying to push back, but still, in some respects, he's blinded to all of it.
No, I agree. And what Elon Musk is saying there isn't hyperbole. I agree. This is the last, this is it. If Trump doesn't get elected, this will be the last legitimate election. But you're looking at all of these lifelong Democrats, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Alan Dershowitz, people who are card-carrying Democrats, Elon Musk, who are now saying, we are done with this. This is not the party. The Democrat Party today is nothing like the Democrat Party of the 50s and 60s. They have absolutely abandoned their base. Yeah. And I am hopeful that enough people like Joe Rogan have woken up to say, oh my gosh, we have got to turn this ship, because we could certainly use some help on our side here, Grant. I've been, like you, pounding the drums for years now.
I think things will go well tonight, and I think we may know earlier than anyone expected, because I expect President Trump to do far better than what the mainstream media has been painting him out to be. Dr. Kelly Victory, I so appreciate you coming on, being a guest today on a very, very important day. It's a pleasure having you on, as always, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and from your lips to God's ears, Grant. Let's keep the faith.
Amen to that. All right, that is the great Dr. Kelly Victory with the Wellness Company, folks. I want to tell you also about, I'm going to get to the pollster. We're going to play that interview next. This is stunning, by the way. This is a Rasmussen pollster, the head of polling, who I really like this guy, and I have great respect for him. His name is Mark Mitchell. Comes on the Real America's Voice show a lot. I'm going to play that interview. He dumps on his own polls, saying President Trump is up even bigger than you can imagine. So I want you to hear this interview that I did with him. But before we do that, folks, I want you to go to twc.health/Grant. Get one of these wellness kits. All right, God forbid it doesn't go well tonight and all hell breaks loose. Do you have prescription medications? There's a guide in here on how to use them. You got 8 of the most popular, common, amoxicillin, Z-Pak, Ivermectin is here. So you got antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics, all in this one kit. You go to the website, twc.health/grant, and make this part of your emergency preparedness plan. You do not want to be behind the 8 ball. Again, the only company I know of that will send you this many prescription medications at one shot is the Wellness Company, because they care about your well-being and the well-being of your family. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. Okay. So I told you, I believe President Trump is up 10 to 15 points. The polls don't show that. Anywhere nationally, the polls show President Trump up either 1 or 2 points, down 1 or 2 points, even. It all is around that same margin of error. They tell you it's equal. But I believe the electorate has changed. The pollster Mark Mitchell believes the electorate has changed as well, which is why he doesn't think that his polls are right. Now, this poll came out yesterday. This is an Atlas poll, okay? Atlas Intel. And it shows President Trump up in every single swing state out there, okay? Arizona, 51 to 46. Georgia, 49 to 48. Michigan, 49-48. Minnesota. Minnesota has Harris up, but just by 2 points. Nevada, 50-47 Trump. North Carolina, 50-47 Trump. Pennsylvania, 49-48. Virginia has Harris up 51-45, but I do believe Virginia is winnable for President Trump. And Wisconsin has President Trump in the lead. That alone is stunning. So Michigan and Wisconsin, two very big ones. Obviously, Pennsylvania, very, very important. We'll get to Doug Mastriano's interview as well, talk about why he's hopeful that President Trump will win in Pennsylvania. Remember Doug Mastriano, the state senator who was instrumental in election integrity, says they didn't get as far as he wanted to go, but he's seeing signs that they're in a good spot in Pennsylvania. All right, so with that, though, I want to get to Mark Mitchell. This was the interview I did on Real America's Voice. It's a very important interview because Mark Mitchell, a highly respected pollster, Rasmussen's one of the few that normally gets it right, dumping on his own polls. All right, here it is.
Yeah, good to be back. And I'd absolutely love to take this opportunity to dump on my own state polling, because I do think that Trump is going to outperform every single number that you put up there. And I can get into a little bit of the inside baseball, but basically what's happening is there's a major political realignment now. And whether you support Trump or Biden or Harris is a bigger deal than the actual party. And so it's made it very hard to figure out how to weight the electorate correctly. And one of the things we've been looking for is people that voted for Biden but are now voting for Trump. And in my opinion, the right call for this election season was for us to weight by something called the recalled vote, where we ask people in 2020, who'd you vote for? And then we make sure our sample corrects for that. A lot of pollsters were not doing that, and they're oversampling Biden supporters. The problem with that is it really kind of crushes any signal that you would see of Democrats who are just demoralized, low propensity voters who haven't voted yet, or, all of a sudden for the first time are going to vote Trump, or first time voters that have never been polled before. They're breaking Trump more than ever before. And so I think that's all going to happen, because if you look at North Carolina, Donald Trump won that by 1.5 points 4 years ago. And now our polls say 2 or 3%. But the thing is that the national polling has moved 6 or 7 points to the right since then. So we're in this really weird situation where the state polling doesn't match the national popular vote polling, and one of them is going to be right and one of them is going to be wrong. And my bet right now is that the state polling, again, like it has been for the last 2 cycles, is way too left. And Donald Trump is probably going to sweep all the battlefields, because right now in the Real Clear Politics aggregate, they're roughly tied to maybe Trump up as much as 2 points.
So this is, in my opinion, great news for President Trump, obviously. One of the reasons I have you on, Mark Mitchell, is I respect your opinion and Rasmussen's polling here. I don't respect a lot of the polling outlets out there. There are others that I certainly do, but I respect this, so I'm happy about this. I feel like one of the problems in 2016 was President Trump pulled out a lot of new voters. So when you use this term likely voters, you're sampling people that you know are likely to vote. You don't sample people that you don't know were going to vote. I feel like we're in that cycle again, that there may be a lot of voters that we don't know even existed out there that are coming out to vote for President Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Listen, polling is hard and it's never, ever 100% accurate, but it can be accurate. You get any data feed and you can correct it over time and learn from your mistakes and hone in on the right answer. The problem is in 2016, Republicans had never seen anything like Donald Trump. And now in 2024, nobody has really ever seen a presidency like Joe Biden's, except maybe going back to the Carter administration, which is why I think a lot of people are drawing parallels to 1980. But I'll be the first to say that I think the early voting data absolutely confirms that a lot of people changed their minds, but a lot of people, new people, are crawling over broken glass to vote for Donald Trump in a way that, again, isn't reflected in the polls and really might signal an early end to election night on Tuesday.
Well, a lot of people are saying that would be great. We swamp the vote. We get enough states in. This could be called on Tuesday. I still don't trust the Democrats in any way, so I'm very concerned about that. But my last question for you, Mark, when you talk about these swing states, 7 of them say, how do you see President Trump doing? Does he take 4 or 5 of them? Does he take all of them? Where are you at with this?
I mean, if you took our numbers and said no toss-ups, he wins them all except Michigan, and he actually gets really close in Virginia and New Hampshire. We have him down 2 in Virginia and down 1 in New Hampshire. But again, here's the thing. I think there's a million reasons. All the state polling's to left, including mine, in a way that the early, I mean, listen, Trump's up like 200,000 votes in Arizona. And we just polled Arizona. And among people who say they're going to vote on election day, Donald Trump is still up like basically almost double digits. So I think the Republicans have.
Go ahead, just finish that.
No, I think everybody's saying that there's this cannibalization of the election day vote, and that is not what I've found in every single state poll I've done this week. We've done 12 states, and in every single one, Republicans have a lot of gas in the tank.
All right, lastly, I suppose the last one's going to be last, but this is important too. Carrie Lake, I'm polling for her hard in Arizona. We would really help us. If President Trump is up this big in Arizona, does that help her? Because the polling shows her way behind.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a tough one. And there's a lot going on in polling that I don't want to get into all the details, but there's reasons to think that the Republican Senate candidates are doing better than the actual polling shows. Now, listen, we do have some winning. We have McCormick basically tied, Hovde up 1 point. So there are going to definitely be Republican pickups. But Carrie Lake, we had down 2 points once and then down 4 points the most recent time. I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people answering polls maybe don't even know what party they are, and that Carrie Lake might benefit from some straight ticket pickup effect. And if Trump outperforms by a point or 2, it's probably her race.
Mark Mitchell, you're great, man. I hope everything you say comes out to be true. And I appreciate you coming on a Friday evening. It is crunch time. It's crunch time for you guys as well. And we appreciate you and Rasmussen, and I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks so much. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. All right, folks, all of this spells uncertainty. So here's what I'd like you to do. Protect yourself with gold today by texting America. All right, folks. So that is the interview with Mark Mitchell that is so important when you think about what is going on here. When you think about that pollsters, and a pollster who normally gets it right, who has President Trump up, is saying he believes his polls are wrong, that President Trump is even up bigger, which would then lead me to believe that my assessment that President Trump is up 10 to 15 points is correct. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't go vote. It doesn't mean you don't grab somebody. You know, I saw somebody in the chat that says they're Amish and they are going for President Trump. If you're Amish in Pennsylvania, Ohio, get your friends. This is a group of people that have not typically voted in large numbers. Grab them, get them to the polls. All right, please, please, please get them to the polls. All right, I told you Doug Mastriano. He is the state senator from Pennsylvania. Fabulous guy, one of the strongest fighters you can imagine when it comes to election integrity. Doug Mastriano says he's got a good feeling about Pennsylvania. Now, if we take Pennsylvania, many believe we take it all. We have some other paths to victory without Pennsylvania. I don't believe Kamala Harris does the way this shapes up to me. We're counting down hours to when results start to come in. But let me play for you, Doug Mastriano, and let you see for yourself, again, why I'm happy. Again, this was last night on the Real America's Voice show. Another important interview that I want to bring to you. Check it out.
Thanks for having me on this very important, critical night.
Well, it sure is. So I guess the big question is, Senator, has Pennsylvania done enough to secure the vote? You know, President Trump has given a very important message. Swamp the vote so we overcome the cheating. You know, you were very critical of Pennsylvania, where we were and getting it back in shape. How are we doing in that state when it comes to the efforts to secure the vote?
As far as that goes, you know, so we had the Gettysburg hearing on November 25th, 2020, and you know, I was pushing for an Arizona-style audit. And then, of course, Rhino, Republican leadership in the Senate, and they're all gone now. They fired my staff, kicked me out of caucus for like 5 months. I mean, it was a nightmare, and stripped me of my power, my committee chairmanship to actually do the audit. And so not enough has been done. Voter ID was lost because we lost the House, and when the Republicans had a one-seat majority, they gave up the power to the Democrats, ridiculously enough, and it was 14 Republicans. The entire leadership team did that. But here's something different to give everyone hope here, because I got to be honest with you. I was pessimistic up until just a couple weeks ago, and let me tell you why I've changed my tune quite a bit here. 2020 and 2022 had bad incomes. My gubernatorial, of course, in 2022 is because the Republicans, we refused to embrace the reality of the mail-in vote. And that election day now is election, 45 days. And the Democrats embraced it. There's some shenanigans that go on with it, but they embraced it. Gubernatorial race, I won in-person voting by 70,000 votes. But we lost overwhelmingly with mail-in votes. Here's the difference, though, and here's why I do believe we're going to win tomorrow, is compared to 2022 during my gubernatorial, Democrats are down 11% with mail-in votes. Republicans are up 14%. I mean, so now we have this 24% gap between Republicans and Democrats. In the 67 counties we have, Grant, across the state, 40 of the 67 counties have an overwhelming number more Republican mail-in votes already logged in and registered to be counted starting tomorrow at 7 a.m. Democrats only have a lead in 18 counties and 12 are tied. This is just unprecedented. Last good piece of news here, Philadelphia County. So Philadelphia was, the source of a lot of our woes here in elections for statewide races like governor and president. They're down right now 200,000 less mail-in votes than they did in 2022 against me for governor. So we have this advantage, and I'm confident as long as we seal the deal tomorrow, that lottie-dottie, everybody gets out and vote tomorrow if you haven't already, and we'll seal the deal tomorrow night.
All right, weather's supposed to be good. There's been a lot of talk about the mail vote, men not showing up. What do you make of that talk? Is that a problem in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I really don't think it is. I mean, it might be in the cities. I'm not so sure, but, across the state generally, I'm seeing a good turnout. So I'm in Franklin County, 70-some% Republican. It's grown, actually, in numbers since I've been senator here. And there is a line for mail-in votes last week that took an hour for people to get through. And these are mostly Republicans going in. I had friends going through the line there, and they saw their buddies and supporters and all that. And so I'm seeing nothing but enthusiasm and hope now. And really, you think about this, Grant, we get to decide who's going to be our president, who's going to lead our nation here. And people are tired of being burned by lying politicians and are taking the power back in their hands and getting out and vote, unlike 2020 and 2022. This is really significant change.
Yeah, it sure is. And, we had Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen on, who's going to join us here in a little bit as well, talking about what you just mentioned. There's turnout in urban cities. What do you think it is? When did the switch turn that black men in particular? I mean, every time I talk to black folks, Hispanic folks, all the time asking who they're voting for. I'm not shy. Overwhelmingly, black men are telling me they're voting for President Trump. When do you think this switch changed and why, Senator?
Yeah, I believe it started in earnest, Grant, last year with all the indictments against Donald Trump, making him a victim when they saw it was lawfare being waged against the political opposition. And then, of course, July 13th, that changed everything. If anyone was on the fence, and when that left-wing lunatic, Crooks, ironically is his last name, took the shot, hitting the president in the head on his ear, And when a president stood up boldly saying, fight, 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 you can't help but admire that. Even John Fetterman, the consummate Democrat senator here from Western PA, he even in his words, even as late as yesterday, just kind of admires the connection that Donald Trump has with the people. Donald Trump has invested so much in Pennsylvania, and not just this year, in 2022 as well as in 2020, that he's earned a trust. And we're watching what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did to our state. We saw Afghanistan. We see the economy. We're not better off or worse off than 4 years ago here. And that people see that we need change, and the change is in Donald Trump.
Look, I believe this election, besides trying to get our country back on track, it is a referendum on the deep state, this ruling class of career politicians. You have this in common with President Trump. They went after you. They did everything they could to shut you down. I'm blessed to be very good friends with Attorney General Ken Paxton here in Texas, where I broadcast from. They went after him the same way. We have Republicans that are going after fellow Republicans. They're cozying up with Democrats. You're experiencing it in Pennsylvania. We have it in Texas. Who would ever think you'd have the same thing in Texas? Are we getting to a point where that's going to shift as well this time around, from a state perspective, from a federal perspective?
You're absolutely right, because I mentioned, that I was going to do an audit with the powers as a committee chair, and then being fired and sacked and kicked out of caucus and had my staff removed in Harrisburg. And any ability I had to conduct that audit was removed from me by a Republican, then the Republican Senate pro tem of the Senate, so the leader of the Senate, Republican. And he was asked by a media outlet, why are you harder on Mastriano, a fellow Republican, than you are on a Democrat governor? And that's our problem. We can't win. I could not win my gubernatorial race without the support of the Republican National RNC and without the Republican Governors Association. And both of them turned their back on me. In fact, the RGA, Republican Governors Association, told me to F off. I'm not going to use the word. And, this is why we don't win races here. I mean, are you serious? We could have won this here. Trump would, if I was governor, he'd be lined up to win this state overwhelmingly. Now we have to fight and invest so much because of this infighting, that there's this dislike for grassroots candidates like Trump, like Kerry Lake, like Mastriano. And these power brokers need to go with the people and stop trying to play politics. The party of backroom deals and smoke room deals kind of thing, that's the Democrats now. Any Republican still caught up in that country club clique elite, you're in the wrong party. This is the party of the people now.
Senator, I'm sure you're going to hate to hear this, but I actually think you might have been 2 years too early. The country, your state, needed this 4 years of just Kamala Harris, Joe Biden disaster. They needed President Trump out on the campaign trail. They needed the wake-up call for America. And look, even at a national level, we were dealing with a Republican Party that was doing the same things they were doing in Pennsylvania. Now President Trump, Make America Great Again, has taken over our national Republican Party. I think the same thing will happen statewide. Let me give you the floor. Last word to your fellow Pennsylvanians, Arizonans, Wisconsinites, Michiganites, you name it, Nevada, all these states that are so important. Lay it on us, Senator.
We cannot stand out. We cannot stand aside. We have to be involved. For Christians out there, there's estimates that 35 million of us are going to stay home tomorrow. This is not God's will for a nation to corrupt under, awful leadership here. He wants America to be great. But the power is in our hands, and there's consequences to standing aside. So if you're not going to vote tomorrow, then don't complain. Don't you dare utter a complaint, because you're part of the problem. We have a vision for America to be a place of freedom once again, that our kids and grandkids can grow up with the same freedoms that we enjoyed. And the decision now is in our hands, and tomorrow we can make that possible. We can fulfill that dream so our kids are free men and women.
Well, Senator, I'm grateful for you coming on tonight. I'm grateful for all the fight that you put up for all Americans, Pennsylvanians, and, of course, President Trump as well. I wish more politicians, specifically Republican ones, would take a page out of your book, sir, and it's great having you on the program.
Thanks for having me on. God bless and keep up the great work. Look forward to a victory tomorrow.
Absolutely, buddy. It has to happen. Victory has to happen. I'll tell you what, I'm on edge. I want to get out and do stuff. I feel like I should do a podcast all day long, just try to force people out. But I don't know if that would make sense. I got to do social media posts, reach other people that aren't watching us on live. Maybe I should go out to the polls. I'm in Texas. Ted Cruz needs our help. The race between Ted Cruz and this Colin Allred character is 4 points. Again, I don't believe it's 4 points. I believe Ted Cruz is probably up higher than that. But I don't want to say that and stop people from going to the polls. What I want everyone to think about right now is overwhelming the ballot box so we win the popular vote. It is important that we do that. Put this electoral college, doing away with it nonsense to bed. And let's just win the popular vote and show Democrats that Republicans rule the roost in this country, that we do embrace freedom and liberty. So I'm going to give you a little list. Why did I vote for President Trump? So when you see a liberal today or a moderate today, or you're at work or you're watching this, they say, why did you vote? Why did you vote for President Trump? To me, it's super simple. I want safe streets. I want closed borders. I want our enemies on the run. I want them to fear America again, both foreign and domestic. These are the reasons why I vote for President Trump and Republicans on the ballot for whatever office. I want to make sure that inflation comes back down. I want certainty in the job market. We lost thousands, tens of thousands of private sector jobs last month. The 12,000 jobs created were government jobs. I want certainty put back into the markets. I want certainty for investors to know that they're not going to be screwed with by a government. I want our deficit decreased. I want government spending down. I want a limited government. I know that's going to be a tall order no matter who gets into Washington, because all these politicians, including Republicans, love to spend. But it's our only choice that we have a chance at reining this back in. All of this is why I want a Republican, why I want President Trump back in office. What does Kamala Harris give you? More abortion? I don't even think she gives you that. It's now back in the hands of the states. She's not going to be able to do anything federally, just as President Trump isn't going to be able to do anything federally. And I don't want more abortion. But do you know, as Dr. Victory said earlier in the program, more abortions in America have happened after Roe v. Wade was overturned than before. That, to me, is stunning. And then what Senator Mastriano says, 35 million Christians will sit home today. And then they're going to wonder why religion, and there's a war on religion by the Democrats, and why they're winning that war in many states across the country, because Christians are not voting. You want to stop the war on religion? You want to stop men playing in women's sports? You want to stop men being taken out of society? You want to stop the erasure of gender lines, the differences between men and women, and blur all that? You want to stop that in its tracks? You got to vote for President Trump. It's so simple. Why would you vote for Kamala Harris? Unless you want more chaos, unless you want the destruction of America, you want higher prices for everything, you want uncertainty, you want our foreign enemies on the move, which is all of this has been proven under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Everything I'm telling you has happened over the last 4 years. Everything I told you about President Trump happened under his watch. So to me, the choice is totally clear, and we have proof to back up the choices, yet people are still blinded. We had one caller called in and said, oh, he's going to vote for Kamala Harris. This was on the radio show out in L.A. because Harrison Ford endorsed Kamala, and he said she would pick better generals like Mark Milley. Oh, my God, these people are blind. They're blind liberal zombies, and that's what really makes me so nervous for this country, is just how blind people are. So it is our job, and when I say us, I mean you and me. It's our job to wake these people up. Without us, we're dead in the water. Now, you know who leads us? There's no doubt about it. The man who leads us is, of course, President Trump. I'm going to play for you a video of President Trump. It's so awesome, but just one more time for my friends. You know, none of this would really be possible if it wasn't for my friends over at the Wellness Company and my other sponsors. Wellness Company, twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. You got prescription medications in here that you're going to need at some point. I've used them for my strep throat. I didn't have to go to the drugstore, didn't have to go to the doctor. I had that amoxicillin right here in this kit. You can have that for your family. So easy. Just go to the website, fill out the forms, buy the kit. They'll send it right to your door. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Don't be late. Your life, your family's life could depend on it, especially if we get to a point where we got drugstores closed down and natural disasters, and Lord knows what else could happen depending on what happens tonight. I didn't want to say it, but I think it is a possibility that absolute chaos could ensue. All right. So I told you I got a video here of President Trump. I thought it was great. Elon Musk shared it. It's a minute long. I'm going to play it because if this doesn't motivate you to vote, I do not know what will.
Put on notice, if you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. 2024 is our final battle. They stole our jobs, and they plundered our wealth. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
The activation word, Ronald McDonald.
We will drive out the globalists.
Patriots go.
We will cast out the communists. America will start winning again. Winning like never before. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. And we will bring back our dreams.
Yes, we will. But none of it happens. None of that happens unless you get out there and make it happen. It's out of President Trump's hands now, man. It is only in your hands. Now, I want your eyes open, and I want you to say something if you see something crazy at the polls. I hope that many of you voted early. If you hadn't, today is the day. Get out there and vote. Now, where do you think it's going to head? Again, I feel good, but we won't know until late. We may not know for days. I still believe he may overwhelm it. We may know tonight. Boy, I would be at ease tomorrow morning if we know that President Trump is going to be our commander-in-chief again. I pray to God this happens. In fact, I don't often do this, but I'm going to do it today. Now, I usually do this in private. When I say I don't often do this, I don't often do this in public. I often do it in private. When I'm lying in bed, awake at night, worrying about the country. But here's what I want to say, and I want all of you to join me in this. We'll say a little prayer for President Trump. Dear Jesus, today is a huge day. Please offer us up a victory for President Trump. Protect this nation from the evil forces that are waging war against us. President Trump will win if it is your will, dear God. Dear God, please protect us from the satanic attack that we are experiencing. We know that President Trump is a shield. We know that President Trump is your soldier, dear Lord. Please lift him up. Put your hand on his shoulder as you did during those assassinations and propel him to victory, dear God. Do it for us, for the future of America, for the future of freedom, as a signal to the rest of the world that we can succeed as humanity. Dear God, if this is your will, please make it happen. In this we pray. Not the greatest prayer in the world. I'm a little out of practice of it, but you know what? I mean it. I mean it. This is what needs to happen. Okay? And I'm praying as hard as I can pray. I would urge all of you to pray as hard as you can pray tonight. And as C3 Real says, let's go. You know, it is that simple. Let's go. Matrix 2, comma liar. The host says, let me read it before it goes away. Host says, what will you do to help the American people? Comma liar. West Philadelphia, born and raised. The playground is where I spend most of my days. That's good. Brayburn in the Rumble chat. Christians need to align their perspective with God's. The Bible is clear on most issues that are debated. Do we want to be found in disagreement with our Creator? Good luck winning that debate. I am with you, Brayburn. Folks, when I tell you we're under a satanic attack, I'm not just kidding around. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the most religious guy in the world, okay? I don't go to church as often as I should. Am I a Christian? You better believe it. Do I believe in Jesus? 100%. Jesus and has put his hand on me in many times where I thought it was done for, and has lifted me up to the greater things that I ever thought would happen. And I really owe that to him. And I know that is his will pushing me in the right direction. So you better believe I believe in God. But I'm not the most religious. It's not my thing every day, right? But I'm telling you, Satan is just as real. And he's waging war on us, and he has stolen the souls of so many Americans. Many of them, if not all, that put D's next to their name, especially when it comes to leadership. It's our job to rescue them from themselves. They may not know they need rescuing. That's where we come in. Let's just prosper over the next 4 years. But over the next few hours, this is going to make or break us, folks. It will make or break us. So I'm not even going to consider the prospect of losing. We're only going to consider the prospect of winning and pray, pray, pray. That's all we can do. Here's INV 1212. I'm working the election counting room today. We start at 1 and go to the end. I'll let you know if shenanigans occur. Please do INV. Stinchfield 1776 is where you can find me. Stinchfield 1776. Can you put it up on here? I'll put the website up too. You can send me an email on my website, grantstinchfield.com, grantstinchfield.com. Go there, fill out the website, fill out the form on the website. Let me get on the email list for me, and good Lord willing, we go forward together. All of you here, we got like 2,300 plus people in the Rumble channel. That may be a record for us. Thank you, Rumble. Share this stream with everybody you know. Like it, push it out, copy the link, tweet it or exit, whatever you, Truth, Getter, you name it. Copy the link and share it. I would greatly appreciate that. Tell your friends and family to follow us, Stinchfield 1776. Folks, this is it. Stinchfield's army rolls. You hear me? Stinchfield's army rolls. It's us together. We're going to make it happen. God bless all of you. God bless the Wellness Company for sponsoring this podcast. TWC.health/grant. TWC.health/grant. Link is in the write-up for the podcast. Folks, let's go do it. All right. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on Real America's Voice tonight. Steve Bannon's going to be having complete coverage. I'll be on with him a little bit on and off. Real America's Voice, tune in there. Bannon's back, and that's going to be great. I love you all. America first. We're going to do this. Let's roll.